Assalamualaikum, I'm Chef Manu and you're watching The Chef, and today we're going to make lasagna. Lasagna is an Italian dish that was originated in the Middle Ages in Naples. So now let's go to this recipe without any further ado. So सबसे पहले we're going to boil our pasta sheets. In our boiling water we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. अगर आपने मेरी पुरानी सारी वीडियोस देखी होंगी तो आपको पता होगा कि this is going to be our pasta stock, and we're going to add up to 4 sheets at a time. Since ये sheets diameter में और surface area में ज़रा बड़ी होती हैं तो they have a tendency to stick, तो हम सारी इकट्ठी नहीं डालते. जब तक हमारी pasta sheets boil हो रही हैं we're going to make our meat sauce. I've added 2 tablespoons of oil, which is 30 grams. This is 500 grams of चिकन मिन्स. आप बीफ मिन्स भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं, इट्स अप टू यू. इन दिस रेसिपी आई एम प्रेफरिंग चिकन. और आप इसको अब थोड़ा सा कुक करोगे until the chicken is white in color and a bit tender. अब आप इसमें अपना गार्लिक डालेंगे. आई एम एडिंग 1 tablespoon of garlic. You can also add ginger garlic paste, but I would recommend that when you're making beef mince. Then I'm adding 4 green chilies and 1 teaspoon of salt. Once आपकी pasta sheets al dente हो जाए, which means hard to feel on the fingers, you're going to remove them from the boiling water and you're going to add them to the iced water. Now this is actually necessary कि आपकी sheets ज़्यादा soft हो जाती हैं and they kind of expand in size, so they're easy to handle when you're layering your lasagna. Now we're going to make our tomato puree. You can also use about 200 grams of tomato paste, but if that's not available you can use 6 large tomatoes and roughly chop them and add them into a blender and blend it. You do not need to add any water or any kind of thing because tomatoes have natural water and they release it when you make a puree. अब बताएं. Now we're going to chop our mushrooms. आपने ज़्यादा overly thinly slice नहीं करने. We're using canned mushrooms. You can also use fresh white mushrooms. Meanwhile हमारा जो meat sauce है वो cook हो रही है. So I have taken roughly 90 grams of mushrooms. If you guys want आप 45 grams of mushrooms डाल सकते हैं and 45 grams of corn use कर सकते हैं. आपने ग्रीन चिलीज के अंदर अपने चिकन को थोड़ा सा कुक करना. Once everything is dried, as you can see, no water of the chicken remains. आप इसमें अपना अनियन डालोगे. We have roughly chopped about 1 large onion, which is approximately 100 grams. Now you have to cook your onion until it's white. Our onions have sweated. Now we're going to add our 500 grams of tomato puree. अब आप इसको टोमेटो प्यूरी के अंदर कुक करोगे for up to 5 to 6 minutes. हमने अपनी प्यूरी के अंदर कुछ भी नहीं डाला था. We did not even add water. We shook our blender until all of it was pureed. आप देख सकते हो कि most of the tomato puree has released its water and it's dried up. Now इस stage के ऊपर we're going to add our mushrooms. We chopped roughly 8 to 9 mushrooms. Then we're going to add our bell peppers. We took half a green bell pepper and half a red bell pepper. We're going to mix this. And we're going to let this cook for up to 1 minute. इस पॉइंट पे अपनी फ्लेम थोड़ी सी हाई कर देनी है. And you're just going to make sure everything is mixed and incorporated. Now we're going to add our spices. So we're adding half teaspoon of red chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper to give it a little bit of heat, and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. Half teaspoon of garlic powder and ginger powder. अगर आप ginger garlic की paste add कर रहे हो, you do not need to do this step. And now we're going to mix it. आपने अपनी मीट सॉस को कुक करना है for up to 15 to 20 minutes, and whenever it's going to get dry, we're going to add our pasta stock. And then we're going to mix it again. At this point, you're allowed to taste. हमने अपनी मीट सॉस taste किया and the chicken is completely tender. Now I'm going to add our herb. I'm adding 1 teaspoon of oregano. Now I'm going to give it a mix. आप herb डालने के बाद उसको cook नहीं करते because it gives a bitter flavor. So once you've added the herb, you have to stop cooking immediately after a minute. And our meat sauce is done. Now we're going to make our white sauce. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make our spiced milk. If you have seen our previous recipe of fettuccine pasta, we made this exact recipe white sauce. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to add 2 bay leaves into 500 ml of milk, about 8 grams of nutmeg, and we're going to add a studded onion. So we have peeled an onion and we're going to take about 8 to 10 cloves and we're going to insert them inside the onion and thus add this onion into the milk. The point of doing this is that the cloves help the onion from unpeeling and they give a very nice aroma to the milk. So this is our studded onion and we're going to place it inside the milk. We're going to let this cook for up to 2 to 3 minutes until it boils. Now we're going to strain our spiced milk. After making our meat sauce and boiling our pasta sheets, we're going to go towards our white sauce. I would recommend you guys to make white sauce in the end because it has a tendency to thicken when cool. So we're using about 50 grams of butter and we're going to allow this to melt. You can use both salted butter and unsalted. In about 50 grams of butter, we're adding 30 grams of bread flour. And now we're going to mix this until it forms a roux. In one of my last videos, I also explained roux is a thickening agent which is used by chefs to thicken soup, sauces and gravies. So once our roux is formed, this is how it's formed, we're going to turn off the flame and we're going to incorporate our spiced milk. Now it's actually important that you incorporate the milk little at a time, gradually, so that no lumps are formed. At this point, you're going to turn the flame back on and you're going to mix it. Once you turn on the flame, your white sauce will immediately start to thicken. At this point, we're going to season it. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of black pepper and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to mix it. You can see how smooth the sauce is. There's no kind of lumps. We're going to keep the flame to medium. And lastly, in this recipe, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of oregano into our white sauce. And our white sauce is completely done. आपकी white sauce की यही consistency होनी चाहिए. But if आपसे over thick हो जाए, you can always use pasta stock to make it less thick. Now everything for our lasagna is ready. All the components are ready. Our meat sauce is ready. Our white sauce is ready. We have some shredded cheese over here, about 150 grams of cheddar and about 150 grams of mozzarella. our pasta sheets are done and we're taking a heat-proof Pyrex dish in which we're going to bake it inside the oven for up to 15 minutes. हमने अपने oven को preheat पे लगा दिया है at 170 degrees Celsius for up to 5 to 6 minutes. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our pasta sheets and we're going to layer the bottom. आपने अपने pasta sheets को layer करना है. जो आपकी last layer है आपने make sure करना है थोड़ा सा sides पे भी जाए because this is going to be the ground layer which is going to hold the entire lasagna. We have cut our pasta sheet into half. This is going to be the bottom layer. Next thing we're going to add is our meat sauce. You have to make sure that you make thin layers because a lasagna is supposed to be minimum of 3 layers. We need to make sure it's evenly spread. Next, we're going to add our sauce. So you can look at the consistency of our white sauce. It's quite creamy and runny. You can pour the white sauce directly onto the meat sauce, but I like precision when I make my lasagna, so I'm doing it gradually. Our first layer is done. Now we're going to add a little bit of our cheeses, and on top of which we're going to again place our pasta sheets. So this was our first layer. Now we're making our second layer. We have completely layered our lasagna. Like the first layer, we made 2 more layers, and on the top we placed our lasagna cheese with some shredded cheese. Lastly, we're going to garnish with some oregano. You can also use other types of herbs like rosemary, thyme, whatever is available to you. Personally, I like the aroma of oregano in my lasagna. Now we're going to put our Pyrex dish into the oven for up to 15 to 20 minutes or until the cheese bubbles. हमारा लजानिया डन हो गया. इसको हम केयरफुली रिमूव करेंगे और हमारा लजानिया डन है. आई होप आपको आज की रेसिपी पसंद आएगी. डू सब्सक्राइब एंड फॉलो आवर चैनल.